Hi there mate, how's it going? It's Benja here, and this is a breakdown and review of Yellowstone Season 5 Episode 7 titled The Dream Is Not Me. The main storyline of Episode 7 begins on the campsite that was set up for the roundup. What we saw in Episode 6 was not the whole herd, that was just the beginning, and so they will continue to brand their cattle. John takes in the scene as all the cowboys get set up, and he tells Rip that of everything they do, this is his favorite part. Rip likes it better when it's done and there are no problems. Talking of problems, throughout the day, ranch hands keep finding stillborn buffalo calf, and John suspects this is caused by brucellosis. Buffalo wandered into the ranch from the national park and brought brucellosis, and if John's cattle get this disease, the state will have to kill the whole herd. They bring the next batch of cattle to the ranch to brand them, and they also vaccinate them against brucellosis. Even Summer chimes in, although she comes this close to having a full-on nervous breakdown. The immediate financial outlook isn't too bad, considering that the herd is insured, so if the state were to kill the cattle, financially it would not impact the ranch right away. However, John makes a good point about how they can't replace 100 years of genetics, as that's how far back the lineage of this cattle goes. And because they can't use the south pasture due to the risk of brucellosis, and because the lower valley is dry, John thinks in order to feed the cattle, they need to send half the herd elsewhere for about a year. Sending 5,000 cows away means they'll need some babysitters in the form of cowboys, and so Rip puts together a team for this task. Rip himself will lead the venture down south. Ryan, Walker, Jake, and Teeter will come along. Gator will be needed too for cooking purposes. But first, John has to lease some land for grazing, and inside the house he comes across Beth, with whom he discusses the financial part of this plan. 100,000 acres at $14 an acre would be $1.4 million per month, and at first Beth thinks it's per year, so she's flabbergasted when she realizes it's actually per month. They're gonna have to take out a $14 million loan for that, because they're gonna stay out there for about a year, and Beth thinks his father should just sell the cattle now, though she can't believe how cheap they are. It is approximately worth $1.50 per pound, and that doesn't seem fair to Beth because steaks are $30 and even ground beef is $5. So because of that, Beth thinks they're in the wrong business and she believes this lease plan will be the end of them. In order to prevent that, she takes a page out of the 4-6 Ranch's book, who are selling their own beef online, and they are making bank. They've sold 8 million pounds of beef this year, and Beth wants to get in on this action too. John is hesitant, but Beth urges him to trust her because this is her job. She has made deals worth $100 million before, so it looks like the Duttons will take out a loan, and they'll have to stay patient for a couple of years until they start making a profit from this beef selling business. In the meantime, John has been in touch with the 4-6 Ranch to find a grazing lease, and they've found a ground in eastern Colorado, north of the Panhandle in Texas. Rip has lined up the trucks and he's ready for the journey, but first he's gonna take Beth and Carter to the county fair to have some fun. This storyline is precisely why I've enjoyed this season a whole lot more than the previous two. The ranch is a massive business that requires constant attention and care. It always brings forward new challenges that force you to change and adapt, and this season the writers have kept that in mind. Don't get me wrong, it's fun to watch the Duttons fight off intruders that want to take their land, like Dan Jenkins or Market Equities, but the actual business has to be on focus too, like it has been throughout the season so far. Quite a few prominent characters are at the county fair. Beth decides she'll move to a city near the grazing land to be with Rip, while Abby is heartbroken about Ryan leaving, so they break up for now. Colby wins Teeter a toy bear, or bar as Teeter puts it. Carter and Tate hang out, and we learn that Tate is a good shot, like his father. And Summer opens up to John about how she was wrong to judge him and his family's lifestyle. She understands what it is they're trying to preserve now that she has spent some time there, and John doesn't mind the crowd seeing him with Summer, and they kiss while John uses his hat as cover. Elsewhere, Jamie is back to conspiring against his father, and in his conversation with Sarah, he manages to sound reasonable. He talks about how he was supposed to be a cowboy and how that is all he ever wanted, but John had different ideas and sent him to law school. So Jamie is in disbelief because John hates him for becoming the very thing he forced him to become. Jamie knows he's not getting John's love, but he would have liked his father's approval and appreciation for his sacrifice. Then Sarah argues that John is scared of Jamie, and that he's also scared because the future of the ranch depends on its evolution. Jamie and Sarah agree that the future of the cattle industry in the US is no future, because in 20 years Brazil will be to American beef what China is to American manufacturing. She firmly believes that Montana's future depends on tourism, hence the reason they need to revive the Market Equities Airport project. The next day, Ellis and Sarah talk to Jamie in his office about Beth's move to place the ranch into a conservation easement program, which practically makes it impossible for ME to develop that land even if they somehow acquire it. And so ME's next move is to sue the state for $4 billion in New York for negotiating in bad faith. That amount is 10% of Montana's GDP, and because John is responsible for this lawsuit, Sarah thinks this is an impeachable offense. Jamie's argument will be this: not only has the governor made the state lose out on thousands of jobs and billions of dollars in revenue per year, but he's also dragged the state into litigation, which will cost them billions more. He is bankrupting the state and must be impeached. Jamie will bring forward this motion at the next state assembly session, and Sarah says they will fund Jamie's campaign if the impeachment is successful, and he will become the next governor of Montana. Now, this is where we have to talk about Beth's blackmail material. In season 4, she took a photo of Jamie dumping his biological father Garrett's body at the train station, and since then I've been saying that this photo is a non-issue. It is not actionable material because all it shows is Jamie holding a carpet in the dark. Maybe Jamie has realized that too, and that's why he's making this move. That is not all the political drama from this episode, because we find out that the president's visit to the Broken Rock Reservation had something to do with 2 new pipelines that will go through the res. Senator Linnell Perry informs Rainwater of that, and they agree to appear before the press to protest this decision. Rainwater wants John there too, but Linnell doesn't think that's happening. Other than that, we had a flashback that showed how Rip killed a ranch hand by the name of Rowdy. Beth used this fella to make Rip jealous, and one night as they're watching the herd, Rowdy makes the mistake of talking about Beth. Rip makes him pay by beating him. Rowdy then brings a knife to a fistfight, and Rip uses a rock to make Rowdy regret it. Afterward, Rowdy is in so much pain that he can't ride back to the ranch, so Rip goes to get some help. He tells the truth to John because when John first took Rip in, that's what he asked of him. When they get back to Rowdy, he is dead, and John agrees to help Rip clean this up on the condition that Rip becomes part of this ranch until the day he dies, meaning that he will get branded and join this mafia-like organization that already includes Lloyd. Rip is fine with that, and he and Lloyd get rid of the body. Lastly, there was a scene at the start showing Beth being mean again to Summer and also to Abby and Laramie. After this trio leaves, Monica points out how cruel Beth is, but Beth doesn't do that to Monica, and Monica says she doesn't need to be treated differently just because she lost a child. Beth disagrees because she knows what Monica is feeling. She's lost a child too, though in wildly different circumstances. Nonetheless, for the first time, Beth talks to someone about losing a child, but she doesn't mention Jamie. She says she's keeping this a secret because of all the people it would hurt, and keeping this truth inside her is not what makes her mean. She was this way long before this tragic event. Episode 7 was a good setup for the mid-season finale, and I can't wait to find out how Jamie's impeachment plan goes. The business side of the ranch getting some screen time is appreciated. I could have done without all the John Summer romance, but all the other relationship stuff was fine. Colby and Teeter in particular were hilarious. Rainwater's foresight is simply incredible because he told Angela what happened after Obama visited another res, how they put a pipeline through it after their visit, and that's exactly what's gonna happen here if they can't prevent it. And I'm hoping John actually helps them out here. That's all the time I've got for today, but I'll be back with an episode 8 preview on Thursday. My video on 1923's premiere is also up on the channel, so be sure to check that out. Tell me your thoughts on episode 7 down below, like this video if you've enjoyed it, and subscribe for more movie reviews and TV show breakdowns. That's it for now, take care and see you in the next video.